Hi everyone, welcome back. This video is about our finishing touches for our artwork. So once you've created that beautiful piece of artwork, we want to make sure that we're protecting it with the right varnish. And so today I'm going to talk to you about the three that I use. I have three different kinds for different reasons. So depending on the artwork, depending on the time and space that I have to work with the varnish, that will depend on which product that I'm using. So I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each one and show you an example of what that looks like, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the first option that we're going to talk about is the brush on acrylic varnish. So I use Deco Art. You can find it right where you're buying your acrylic paint as well. Michael's, Walmart, they all have it. Amazon has it. I think you can just get it anywhere that you can buy acrylic paint, really. It comes in the same size bottle. It also comes in different finished looks. So you've got gloss, semi-gloss, matte, ultra matte. There's a bunch of different satin. So depending on the look, the finished look that you want, you can either have that matte finish or a semi-gloss satin or really glossy. You just would take it. It's really runny, so I tend to just be really careful with that. You can put it in the lid or into a little container, but it's quite runny. So what you would just do is you just take your paintbrush and you just brush it on the top of your stone, and then you have this one I believe is a satin look, so you've kind of got that protection. They do say that they're waterproof and permanent, so it should be good for a non-yellowing, so it can be good to be outside. It just gives you that protective finish so that your paint isn't chipping away. So as you can see, this is a finished stone that has the brush on paint. It's really quick application, dries really fast. There's no odor to it, so you can definitely do it inside. That's going to be one of the cons about some of my other ones, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So this one you can do inside. It dries quickly. Those are really great pros of the brush on varnish, as well as being able to choose your option for your finishing touch, whether it's the matte or the gloss or the satin. You can also use them for a little bit bigger projects. Again, so you're just brushing it on. I probably won't do anything that's bigger than these as far as the brush on, just because it does dry really quickly. I found that when I was trying to do it on in bigger pieces, by the time I was brushing on one side and getting to the other side, this side was already drying, so you can't kind of go back and make sure your brush strokes are not showing. So I found that to be a bit of a challenge, so I tend to not do anything much bigger than the projects like this. It is really great though when you're in a time crunch. So if you've got stones that are ready to go, whether it's for a gift or you've got a market coming up, something like that, and you need to get these stones finished really quickly, then this is definitely one of the best options for you to use to finish off your project and get it done, dried, and ready to go as quickly as possible. So again, pros: really fast drying, no odor, so great inside, great for time crunches, great for small projects. And then some of the cons are that you will start seeing brush strokes if you're doing bigger projects. So those are kind of the pros and cons of the brush on acrylic. Also really inexpensive, honestly. It's about the same as what your paint costs. So that's also another pro. Next we have the spray finish. So this is just a Krylon, this is the satin finish. It's just an acrylic varnish spray on. So the pros and cons of this one. Pro is definitely, it is fast drying, just like the brush on acrylic. Dries really quickly, leaves a gorgeous finish on bigger projects. So if you're doing a canvas, a larger canvas with your mandalas, you definitely, the spray on is the most ideal finish for that. You're not going to get brush strokes. You're going to get a beautiful even layer These also come in different finishes, so you can get a gloss, you can get a matte, you can get a satin finish, depending on the style that you like. And it always leaves just this beautiful finishing touch for your painting. So as you can see, for something like this, this is the satin, and again, it's fully protected, and you don't see any brush strokes, and I love it for my canvases. And so those are the pros for that. And fairly inexpensive as well. I think it's under $10 for a can, and it lasts quite a while. The cons of that product are that the odor is really strong. So you are going to want to do it outside or in a garage. You definitely do not want to do it in your house. And the odor lingers for a while, so you'll need to have your project wherever you spray it for a good couple of hours in order to let the odors dissipate, because I've brought paintings in from outside a bit too soon, and it's not fun. So the cons of that are that you do need to have the space and the weather for sure. You will be weather dependent, so if it's raining or it's in the middle of winter, it's probably not going to be the most ideal. So you do need to have that time and space. If you've got a garage, that's awesome. Something like that where you can spray your artwork and let it sit for a while before you're bringing it inside. So that's probably one of the biggest cons. If you don't have a garage, you don't have a backyard space, you're limited with weather. Those are kind of a few things that limit being able to use this product. But definitely on those nice, beautiful days, it's ideal and a really great way to finish off your canvases. One of the other things I probably won't use that for, I know some people probably do use it, is on your stones. I find that using the spray, and I've done this before, where you can't get to the underside of your stones, so you're spraying on one side and then you're waiting for those to dry, and then you're flipping over and spraying the other side. And I have found that there has been an overlap between the two, and it can either create a line or drips in that sense. And so, or when you're spraying it, if you get just a little bit too much, there are drips that dry underneath, and so you kind of get those, well, those drip marks or those lines. So I find that I can't get it quite even all the way around when you're using the spray. So I tend to use the brush on, or my next option for my stones for most ideal. So the spray is really, really great for flat surfaces and flat projects. So that's it for the spray. And now we're going to move on to option number 3. Okay, so option number 3 is resin, and comes in a 2-part epoxy resin is what I use, with the resin and the hardener. These ones I just actually got yesterday in the mail from Amazon. They're super great. This is the art, it's just called Art Resin, and it comes in little bottles. I think you can buy them in bigger bottles, but it does tend to go a long way, especially when you're using it for small projects. So I tend to just buy the smaller bottles, and it lasts me for a good little while. I am going to do a video really soon with regards to this resin, because it is it's a different undertaking. It's not spray, spray and go. It's not brush and go. There's definitely a process to this, and I really want to show you how to do that. So we will do that in another video. So please stay tuned if you want to learn how to resin your rocks, because they look amazing. I'm going to show you some here in just a minute, and they really make your stones look professional and just really give that really beautiful finish. So I will show you that in another video. I will show you start to finish how I resin all of my stones. So when you're going to the beach and you're choosing stones, or you're going, however you're choosing your stones, whether it's the beach or, your gifted stones, sometimes, for the most ideal, you want to find really round, beautiful stones like these ones, really nice smooth flat surface. This one, I love this, and I'm going to show you how to do a Ukrainian egg design. So please stay tuned because Easter's coming up pretty soon, and I really want to show you how to do this design, and I'm excited about that. So, but that's for another day. But sometimes you find stones on the beach or wherever they are, and they're beautiful shapes, but they are rough or they have divots in them. A lot of stones around here, I don't know if you can really see it, but they're not smooth. They're not this really nice, fine surface. So let's see here, I've got another one here. And you can see it's kind of that, I don't know what type of stone this is, but a lot of the stones around here that we do have those little divots in it, and it's really difficult to create really clean dots on stones that have these divots in them. But when you have your heart set on it, because it's just such a perfect round stone, I have the way for you to be able to still use that stone and paint on it. So resin is your option, is your best option. So this stone here, this one here too, are the same type of stone that I just showed you. But once you put the resin on it, which is a self-leveling resin, it actually fills in all of those little divots. And so then you have these beautiful smooth surfaces to paint on now that you have the resin on it. So there is a way for you to use these stones that you love, that you find that are not as smooth as you want for your painting. You can use the resin. So you would coat your stone in resin before painting it. One of the videos that I did most recently actually shows you a stone that was resined first before I painted on it, just because it was exactly like that. I loved the color of it, but definitely knew that it was not ideal for painting on, and so I resined it, and it was perfect. So this is another stone actually here that was resined first, as you can see, and then I painted on it afterwards. This one does not have a top coat of resin on it yet, but just wanted to show you that it can be done on those stones that have a rough surface. What you would just do is resin it first, and then you're going to have those beautiful surfaces. So the other part of resin is when you're doing your finishing touch, once you've already painted your stone. I love how the resin looks on the stones. It just gives that really glassy, beautiful, professional looking stone. These are always the best sellers at my markets, just because they do look so professional, so beautiful, just finished off so lovely. The great thing about how I do my resin as well, which I will show you in that video, is how it leaves a base on your stone. So some of your stones that might be wobbly when they're sitting on the on a surface are now actually going to sit on a flat surface and be solid and not have all that wiggles. So as you can see, here's another stone that I've done that's been resin coated, and yeah, they just look, I love the look of them, and you don't get a lot of drips in the process that I use when I'm coating them, so it's definitely worth it. I guess some of the cons of resin is it is expensive. You definitely don't want to waste it, so that's why I tend to make sure that I have a lot of stones that I'm covering before I'm doing resin. I'll have stones that I've already painted and I want to finish off, and then I'll also have stones that I want to pre-resin before I'm painting them, because you can do a bunch of stones all at the same time, because you don't want to waste the resin. So we'll go over a few of the cons for resin. So resin does have fumes. They're certainly not as strong as a spray. I have been able to do the resin inside, but I do it near an open window. I do use a mask as well, just to ensure that I'm not inhaling any of the fumes, and then while they are drying, I just leave them by the open window, and they're okay. They definitely don't have a high fume volume, so you're okay to do that as long as you have kind of an open space with a window to be able to do the resin. you really only have one option for resin for your finish, which is the gloss, the high glassy gloss finish. It doesn't come in matte in the way that the other options do. The process, or the application process is much longer than the other two options. Not a whole lot longer, but it does, you know, you do want to carve out some space to do that. And they also need to dry longer. So these will actually probably take a couple days to fully dry. They usually dry to the touch after, you know, maybe a day, but they are still a little bit tacky. You definitely want to leave them for a couple days to make sure they're really protected. You also have to make sure your application process is on point. Otherwise, if you've got too much or too little of one or the other, then you're going to get a tacky surface, or the resin just may not adhere properly. So there are some things where you just need to be a little bit more precise with the resin. Definitely worth it though when you get your finished look. I just do them really on the stones, the smaller surfaces, and I do resin on special projects like my ukulele. So I did do a ukulele in previous blog posts and in Instagram, so you can check that out there. But I do have another ukulele on the way, and we are going to put that together. So I'm going to show you a series where we're going to put together one of the do-it-yourself ukuleles, and we're going to paint it and we're going to finish it. So something like that, I would definitely be putting resin on, because if you're using it a lot, you want it to be really protected. You want that paint to be really protected. So something like that, I would definitely put resin on. So anything like that where it's going to be handled a lot, I tend to put resin on. So I wouldn't be putting resin on my canvases or something that's not really going to be handled a whole lot. So those are your three options for finishing off your artwork, and I hope that you enjoyed that and got a little bit more information about what works best for you and your projects. You might want to have a couple on hand depending on what it is that you're painting on and what kind of look that you want to have, what time frame you have in order to complete your project, and what kind of space you have in order to finish off your project. So I will post the links for all the products down below if you're interested in looking at those, and I will see you next time.